Yeah, we're getting. I think it's alive. Oh shizzle bizzles. Let's do this. So yeah, Chainsaw Man. If you didn't know, the newest sensation across America. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, it's cool, man. I remember Chainsaw Man just being this thing, this concept from a manga that my friends would tell me. I think in high school, man, or even or whatever college ever, and just people going about like, yeah, there's this guy who turns into chainsaws, and for a second you're just there and you're like, kind of ran out of ideas, don't you think? But it, it it really takes base on a lot of inspirations and something that I've come to admire from the creator of Chainsaw Man. I don't actually have names for you, but the guy Fujimoto Sensei, I guess that's his name. The guy is the one who worked on Look Back. That's that other animated film that I guess took years to animate because it had all these detail work and all this done. And it just comes to show how deep or serious someone can get to how very intense and creative and wild and expressive someone can be. And there really is that fine line between the best of us, and to see that come into the screen, blown up, with more of a budget, is always nice to see. I think about times when like My Hero Academia comes around with this anime, and Bone Studio gets to work with those early choppy animations, but all of it makes sense at the very end. We know where the budget is going to, and not unlike this, you do have those few moments where things look a little wonky, yes, and some might think that is due to the 3D art of nature of this film, and you're actually 100% right, because I saw this in IMAX and it looked cool, it looked great, but I did realize that the lines on the characters were a little dark sometimes, or a little blurry, and I wonder if that was an interesting choice or if that was just a movie choice. Sometimes they switch it up their art style a bit because they have more of a budget. But then I saw it again in 3D, and dudes, why have I've always wondered why we don't do this, but anime in 3D is prime, like it's prime, dude. Because if you really think about it, those really dark and bolden lines make the characters pop out even more from the backgrounds. And now that we've been incorporating more of a 3D generated art in anime, and you see it more and more in the anime films, they just pop off the screen. And it made this film a lot more, like, to me, enjoyable. I would say that is the premium official way to watch this film in 3D. And yeah, it's sort of, you sort of forget that it's in 3D, but that's how really well done it is, that it just blends in so well with the action and the moments, and when the characters are standing in front of like beautiful landscapes, they actually pop out in front of them. And dude, it's really, really cool. One of my biggest gripes is gonna be that in Universal Studios Hollywood, they actually had the Chainsaw Man promotional for the Halloween Horror Nights, but it's called Chainsaw Man 4D in Japan. But they did not have, got an itch in my back. They did not have the 3D technology, which they actually have access to, and I do not understand why they did not have that. Now it makes a lot more sense as to why there was that 3D push for Chainsaw Man, and seeing how they were able to get that 3D animation, like, not as on point as something like Demon Slayer, but so on point that with the 3D visuals, 3D glasses visuals, it really does a lot for everything. And yeah, so if you're gonna go watch it, I highly recommend 3D glasses all the way. Very cool. So, why does people like Chainsaw Man? Why chainsaws? Chainsaws, huh? Chainsaw Man is essentially Wolverine. And I've thought about this for a long time, okay? It's like a teenage brat, a teenage bastard brat, and you put him in boy meets world scenario. But world as we know it nowadays, not as pacified as one would think. Clearly, we've followed Denji's journey for a while now, and we've seen him get thrown up in his mouth. That happens. And we've seen him kind of evolve as a single cell being, right? Kind of just like focus on one object, to kind of expanding his horizons. Whether or not those horizons are, like great is another conversation. But just the idea that this guy is learning, growing. First it was food, and then it was, company, and now it's like more of a like a direct relationship is where we're at with his brain cells. And honestly, it's like seeing mankind grow, evolve. So if you really think about it, we've been watching this kid go through stages of like human evolution, which is ironic because the whole shtick of it is that everybody wants Denji's heart, aka the Chainsaw Devil's heart. So when people come looking and knocking for that, things get a little hectic. And for the most part, one can handle a few, interactions and walk away unscathed, give or take, right? Should see the other guy. But it's when they start sending people who are able to attack you on an emotional level. Like a wise man once said, this is where the fun begins. So I called it. I'm just the way my brain works, and the way the way story writing works, and just what would help create a character and lessons learned and history and blah 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 life lessons. I called it from the beginning. For record, I do have fans that are super into Chainsaw Man. The one that I went with is the one that took me to go watch Look Back. They were like crying in the middle of that movie, and I was like, wow, this really means something to you. Good stuff. So thinking about all of that, when someone comes after Denji and is like, yo man, you're kind of cool. Yo man, we should hang out. And hanging out becomes getting growth, attachment. They say the best way to get close to someone is to spend time with them naturally. Henceforth, why time is the most valuable currency that anyone can ever have. And we see Denji start to kind of realize that there is a whole big world out there. Boy meets world, boy meets girl. Denji meets Makima. He's like, wow, the idol, the top tier, whatever it is. And then boy meets world, going, wow, there's a lot of interesting people out here, and they're kind of cool. Unless, like most things, Darwin's law does stand the test of time. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And sometimes in relationships, that's a misspoken word. Sometimes that's a gesture. Sometimes that is just a moment of like an action, right? Like, oh, you forgot my birthday. You forgot, and then you write a song about it. And it's it's a big world out there. It really, really is. So you can't really take anything super personal like in general, right? More now in these days that we are super highly internetly connected with each other, but somehow that has made us more distant in terms of not going deeper than just the surface intellectual level. And when you do find someone, or when you think you find someone who really gets you, or at the at the best of times can stand the worst of you, then that means something. That creates a sort of safe place, a home, if you will, for someone to be able to open up, let loose, dance around, and swim naked in a pool together. And yeah, that's the idea, that when you're exposing yourself to such an emotional level, somewhere deeper somewhere deeper than just skin, you 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 let go. You're vulnerable. You open up, and that is the way to the heart, Chainsaw Man's heart. So it's interesting, quote unquote funny, to think about how, oh, this anime had someone throw up in someone's mouth. Ha 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 ha, laugh laugh. It's such a interesting anime. And I know that brings a certain type of crowd, certain type of people. I think about the Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce escapade when McDonald's was having that promotional material, and you see the amount of people that really come out thinking that this means something, or this is something more than it really should be. And to an extent, sometimes it really is. You never really know. Maybe somehow, for some Jesus known reason, that poor gentleman, minded gentleman, felt such a huge affection that he needed to know what Szechuan sauce tasted like, just so he can relate to Dan Herman, or whatever the creator is of Rick and Morty. And that leads to that. But yeah, I don't know, I kind of went off on a tangent with that one. But the idea that just putting yourself out there, letting that go, and knowing that you can be hurt. Oh, okay, yeah. Knowing that you can be hurt because you're exposing a certain part of yourself that not many people are able to see, or not many people are interested in seeing. So to think again, going back to everything, to think a bit again about how the universe thought it was funny, or at least the circles that I know about thought it was funny that, oh, ha ha ha, Chainsaw Man gets throw up in his mouth and all that. But I took that differently. I took that as a note of like, yes, we can do this basic ass fan service that, you know, we all grew up on. I pretty sure I grew up on that. But they decided, the artist, the character, Fujimoto, I guess Sensei, I'm keeping going with that name, decided to write a different plot point, something to throw us all off. That, yes, wow, these things are available and these things are accessible to certain people or certain, you know, circles or whatever. It is still not everything, right? It's not perfect. It's still a choice at the end of the day. And like, got it. And like the choice that Denji had at that moment is not the same choice that Denji had the next day. and for whatever reason that may be, but that is a lesson learned from a situation, and understanding that that kind of angle was what Chainsaw Man could be really got me like excited. And yeah, it really is that pretty intense. So TLDR, careful who you trust at all times. I know Denji is like very like puppy dog guy, and that maybe that's his whole shtick. He has the Pochita spirit inside of him, so he's like what's the term? Golden retriever boyfriend mindset. And yeah, that's why Makima's very like dog boy, yes. And while there is a place, a time, and everything for that, right? You know, certain people are into that, and that's super cool and super great. But obviously, you you wouldn't know that unless they actually were open to showing you that or comfortable with your presence and X amount of things. So it it really can get that interesting. And to think that this anime really brings everything to the forefront, to the table, and we can either as a society look at it and be like, ha ha ha, chainsaw man, he's basically Wolverine with the chainsaws, except that he regenerates too, except that he's more of a youngster and he's a pervert and he's funny and he's a dummy, so you can't blame him for just wanting to be a basic instinct human being that wants to procreate and make love to, or love Makima, make love to the Makima, whatever, wherever his intentions will lie from there. The kid is learning, the kid is growing, the kid is there to experience life, and we're all along for the journey. Granted, yes, he has more of a supernatural life, and everything that happens is fantastical, including our friend the Shark Man, which shout out to again to the masterful writing that you start this movie with this annoying, quote unquote, annoying side character, and by the end of the movie you're like, you know what, you're kind of cool, Shark Man, let's do this. That is peak, that is peak story plot writing. And again, I'm just very excited to see where this goes. So, sort of like Don Don Don, I still haven't seen season 3 because a part of me just really wants to like have everything there. But having these things drip fed to me in the movie theater is definitely the way that I feel works best for me. So if this is the new echelon of anime, meaning that anime is anime, you can watch anime weekly, and if you have time for that, you can do that, and that's great, and we love that. And if I can, I will try doing that, marathoning whatever I can. But if the new premium tier, because we're thinking about Sony, we're thinking about how they operate as PlayStation, how they operate as a electronics department, TVs, audio systems, all that stuff. Sony. And if that all comes around, if this new echelon of premium anime is drip feeding us these episodic films, I can do that. I can do that. Final note. For the love of God, thank you for not charging the AMC stub members, pass hold members, for this movie. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You can watch this as many times as you freaking want, as long as you have your little pass thing or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that applies to any other Regal pass or any other movie club pass. Again, the whole shtick is that I just like that these anime films were getting imported tax or whatever you want to call it. Essentially, they're just getting, they weren't allowing, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, be it Crunchyroll, whether it be Sony, whether it be anything, let's stay on this track. I promise you, if you want people to lock in, just let them swing in, you know? So all I know is that Chainsaw Man sold out of the Pochika popcorn maker guy, a little popcorn hoarder. It's actually kind of cute. And the collectible tickets We get one from your entrance to the movie. They ran out by the time I got there. Remember that night of streaming Silent Hill on Thursday night? That is day 0 of the movie launch. So you're telling me that on day 0, they ran out of the promotional material for the amount of people that were there to watch it on day 0. That's math right there. That's a lot of math right there. So we're on the right track. I hope it stays good. I understand that things are really rocky on the anime production side. People, well, nothing new there in terms of like people are not being treated well, but I do believe that there is a midsection. There's a way to make this happen, and if Sony's gonna be cool and play cool and be cool and for the love of God not overcharge for everything like they always do, then yeah, I really hope it works out for everyone, for all of us. So yeah, Chainsaw Man, lots of emotions, lots of interesting vibes. It continues to surprise me in terms of like how legit they are going with this scenario they're building, and adding more elements, keeping it like a mystery, but still being interesting. It never stops being interesting, and we'll see where they go from the future. So, looking forward to it. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? 4DX. I need to go look for that. If they have a 4DX motion thingamajiggy with the glasses, that is the premium. That is the way to go. That is the ultimate experience. So as I Google for that later on, definitely go check out Chainsaw Man. The rezearc. Good stuff. 10 out of 10. You like, we like. Oh. Sorry to never do so. So, speaking of good boys and the way they, sorry, and how they change our lives, that is right. If you didn't know, Keanu Reeves is the goodest boy out there. Oh, fuck. Wrong one. Keanu Reeves is the goodest boy out there, man. Didn't you know it? And in good fortune, we get the answer to the age-old question. What would happen if Keanu Reeves was a puppy? Yes, Cerritos, Mr. Reeves, Matrix, the one himself, is Gabriel in this film. Gabriel, for any of my Bible nerds out there, is one of God's right-hand angels. So he's kind of big up there on the totem pole. However, in this film, we have one Gabriel who is kind of on, let's call it parking ticket control, if we're in terms of the bureau or the police station. And he's there. Oh, I fucking love this movie. And he's there because one Amid is having a hard time living in California. And you know I always have a soft spot for any film that stars in California, specifically in Los Angeles. And this is no exception because, man, our main character here is having a rough time. So he's out there living on the streets. He lost his apartment. He doesn't have a stable job. Again, you can get jobs like Grubhub and all the stuff which he is doing, and sort of like task jobs, like quick, easy jobs. But to find something stable in LA where they charge up the butt is the reason why I have roommates. So that is something to think about. But this guy, having a hard time, bumps into one Seth Rogen. And you know we like a good Seth Rogen because Seth Rogen does just good work, damn it. She's talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're talking about Pineapple Express, and we're talking about all those Superbad films. You know, just the way we've seen Seth Rogen grow as a filmmaker is pretty amazing, man. Because I think about Superbad, I think about how like raunchy and like how teenager, again, Chainsaw Man like that movie is. And then I think about where we are now. I think about something like This Is the End, which is a really stupid, fun, great film with Michael Cera, because Michael Cera in this juice box. If you know, you know. But you think about just how now with this film, we just come full circle where he is legit promoting a angelic being coming around to switch up things with good intentions, right? They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But in this case, switching their lives and giving Seth Rogen's like the shitty life where he has to kind of learn how to value things, and giving Arj the high life, learning how minuscule all this really ends up to, is obviously like a big, obviously like, whoa, hey guys, money's not that important, which obviously it is in a society where we're forced to trade with uh, linen lined papers. But it's also very important to remember the important things, which comes from community, which comes from understanding, which comes from humanity. And yeah, obviously you don't necessarily need it, right? You don't necessarily need to be in a crowd. You don't need to go to church. You don't need to like open up a book class and all that stuff. But they're kind of fucking cool. Books are cool, man. And it goes to show that, you know, just the way you live your life, if you can live it well enough, provide you with a community, and you know that the community is there, but it's also easy to forget how easy it is to influence those around you. And it's easy to forget, right? It's part of the reason why I love going out on the weekends and kind of interacting with retail people and all that stuff, because there's a whole universe out there. There's a whole big world out there. And yes, your actions may not mean the universe, right? But the butterfly effect theory is that even a butterfly's flapping of the wings can change the current of the wind and can create a tornado, and eventually, hypothetically speaking. Again, Murphy's Law, man. If it can happen, it'll happen. But that is also why there is such a pride and a respect and a gift to be able to just share the goodness of being alive. And whether that comes from enjoying a nice, luxurious meal that you had to pay for, or just simply having the company of a loved one at the Wednesday night's taco stand, is a big difference, right? But to each their own. We know the world is big, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I think what our good man Keanu Reeves here and the team we're trying to express is that there is a value to the goodness that we share. And the best thing about sharing good things is that you don't run out, you know? I think mentally you can check out, yes, and that's what you have to take care of, but like, its value never dies. So yes, Keanu Reeves is as cute as you think he is, especially when he's acting like the most potato dog out there and he's just having a good time. So cool. It's actually like a really good movie, like really, really good. I highly recommend it. It's cool. It's really cool. especially coming from Matrix man himself. Oof. But yeah, I would recommend it. I know I'm a little late on it. Took me a while to get to it, but it all kind of worked out. An idea of like trying to squeeze in the 3 films, but yeah, man, definitely. I'd like to support this film a lot. I think that if you can, you definitely should. I'm gonna do the good old trick where I'll go ahead and get the ticket for it, and I'll just sneak into whatever Chainsaw Man is showing on the IMAX. I still need to watch Chainsaw Man in Dolby. Still is a big word, but I'll get to it around eventually. And yeah, if honestly, if you can support a film like this, definitely 100,000%, a fucking million%. He's just eating a hamburger, man. He's enjoying the hamburger. So yeah, definitely go check it out. I really, really like this film, and I respect what the team is doing out there, and we'll see if we get more good stuff, like Good Fortune. But not everybody can have it great, said the guy with the OLED. Because, in case you didn't know, evil knocks twice. That's what they should have said. Evil rings twice. In the spectacular inclusion and continuation of Black Phone. Yes, that's right. We got a sequel already. The original Black Phone was kind of interesting, right? It came off like as a... Oh, we're done with this, by the way. Chainsaw Man. From Universal's. The Chaos. And it was a cool sleeper hit, right? Because this is back when Blumhouse was still kind of opening up and doing its thing. And we were also kind of like, whoa, what's going on with this guy? And they came out, they swung, and they hit gold with the telephone. If you know, you know, in the first movie. And that kind of created some buzz, and people were talking about it. And I like to think that it generates like hype. Hype is one of those interesting things that, yes, it deserves it, but because you're doing too much for it, it really takes away the value of what it is just trying to be. And it's just trying to be itself, which is why you're valuing it. So be nice to it. And being nice to it is not what Hollywood is known for. So you can understand why when someone slaps a big 2 on that, then it's like, yo, man, what are we doing here? So what are we doing here? Because you got this guy sliding in ice like he's freaking the Vancouver Chucks, man. And they could have gone a lot of routes with this. You know, the main character is the little bro, the homie, the child, which is now grown up into essentially a teenager. He's technically an adult IRL, but he's still a teenager in here. I'm not sure if he's in high school or a freshman, but our boy has grown up with the chink on his shoulder, as most young adults who are not, as most young people do. You know, life throws a curveball at you, and when it is apparently a apparatic ghost, well, actually no, it was a actual serial killer. Then yeah, you change after that. Experience is one hell of a motherfudger, and you see just how much that has affected the kid, and that's really interesting. Because I think about movies like Child's Play, Chucky, and how what was the main character's kid? Whatever that kid's character was, how he grows up and he becomes like an army soldier or whatever, doesn't matter. But actually seeing the side effects of what that does to the character, I think is something we haven't really seen as well as this. Maybe specifically when it comes to the male adaptation to it. But yeah, you generally have a boy meets world, but the world gave the boy a serial killer that he had to fix with his own hands, and that experience changes a person. right? You can no longer go back to that innocence once you understand what it is that you have done. Hence, Adam and Eve, don't eat the apple. Damn it. Ladies, you have to. No, I'm just kidding. That's an old Tosh 2.0 joke. It's like he's pretty weird about it. He's like, ladies, you have to eat everything. But yeah. So speaking of biblical terms, we actually got a lot of spiritual references. And again, Hollywood is an interesting place, right? It is what it is. I don't know if, but there it has a way of sort of adapting slash influencing. I've always seen it as adapting because I feel like I see things before they happen. Like I'm usually ahead of the curve on things. When people started howling on Fortnite, I was like, damn it, I did this to myself. And that's usually how life feels for me. But on the other spectrum, Hollywood tends to inspire things in terms of like values, interesting takes. Disney trying to shove that men are useless down our throats. Fuck you, Disney. Sorry, this is what this finger's for. A ring finger's for. Fuck you, Disney. And seeing at least Universals, specifically Blumhouse, because they're free dogs. They're able to do whatever the fudge they want. They've proven time and time again that they got the stuff. So when you have the kids going to a youth camp, like a Bible camp, right? The natural inclination would be, why would you do such a thing? Why that doesn't have to be there? Blah blah blah. It could just be a summer camp. Blah 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 blah. But you actually have one of the main characters, i.e., the sister, going through like this spiritual awakening, and something that I really really like about this film is the idea that yeah, you can understand things on a spiritual level without having to completely devote your being to reading scriptures and textures and books, right? Now notice I don't say prayer because prayer is different. It's like meditation for the soul. But when you're able to step away from tradition, right? The new generation looks at everything that we've done and then it goes, yeah, but we could just do it this way. Simpler, faster, more efficient. Because we've been doing it this way our whole lives. So now let us do it our way. And that way is the highway. No. And that is how we see creation, inspiration, growth, rejuvenation, evolution, if put it simply. So something that I've always kind of not struggled but worked with all my life is the idea that religion is very like buttoned up and weaponized, if that makes sense. And these are all personal takes. Short story, I was born in a church. That's not an exaggeration. and I've known these things that I'm supposed to know my whole life, essentially. I don't think I have a memory before a specific church. And jumping around from places, you understand different angles, you understand different pastors, you understand different like values, different teachings, and from that I very much developed my own shtick. And obviously coming from a place where like military is kind of influenced, and it created this sense or this pot inside of me that taught me values, taught me ideals, taught me the dedication that it took, and I was able to put that into my own little ball or whatever. And that's just what I am. That is who I am. That's what I do. It's a little bit embarrassing saying this out loud now that I think about it. But all this just to say that when you have a character that is out there learning to believe while still dropping F-bombs, while still praying while dropping F-bombs, is something like inspirational. Again, I'm thinking about how Hollywood affects the universe, and I mean the universe, because if this goes international, people look at it and go like, oh shit, they can do that. And again, anything good can be made terrible. One of my worst fear, not my worst fears, one of the worst things is that yes, Bible, scriptures, religion, period, is weaponized from time to time to help inspire this sort of agenda, or whatever you may call it. But putting the power to the people and giving them the strength to go, look, dog, this is all you got to do. It's not that hard. You can try it if you want. And our main character is going through the same type of thoughts, moments, except hers are hyper visualized with the horror elements. And that's pretty amazing. Real talk. That's pretty amazing if you really want to think about it. If you really want to think about it. Low key, I just think about how like Assassin's Creed was very like not religious, but it took religion very not seriously, but respectfully. Like it had points that really reflected, and they weren't saying it just to be like, oh look at this, religion, but it helped create the bigger picture as to why we're in this setting and why it is that these people do what they do. Again, you don't have to like the things people believe in, but understanding why they believe it does so much more than just ignoring their beliefs. And yeah, that is what the universe is gonna like display and show, and I'm gonna be very curious to see what that means for everybody out there. Granted, I don't think this movie is gonna do that well. It is okay in terms of Horror Fest. I think it did a lot of things really well, and I think it did a lot of characters things super well. I generally like the two characters. I can't say I like the grabber uh, horror element as much. I understand that he is the main crutch carrying like this plot, and unfortunately, that's kind of the saddest part, the worst part, that you have a generally really good story about these siblings, and I take that very personally. I have a younger sister that I very much care for. And they have gone through a traumatic experience, and they don't have a father figure, and their mother is, I guess, dealing with her own stuff. So you have these two characters that are essentially going through a life journey, and again, you have the spiritual element of this girl going through her own journey, and she's not perfect. Nobody is perfect, so why the fuck not? And you have this guy who's also coming to terms with his adrenaline, which is a very masculine thing that we all, I assume most men have to go through. You have so much adrenaline or so much testosterone at a certain point in your life that you have to figure out what you're gonna do with this. And that comes in terms of like goals, dreams, blah, 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 blah. And to see this guy riding his motorcycle, having fun out there, uh, fucking asshole. and and to see them just do that, feel their lives, and see both kind of spectrums of a coming of age story. I think that was the greatest takeaway of this film. And it's a little sad that I 1000% understand that the reason this is a horror film, the reason this is The Grabber, Black Phone 2, is that a movie of those two siblings doing this at a normal ass youth camp, you know, when they actually have a youth camp, everything's okay, would not sell. So instead, it's wrapped up in a horror film for Halloween, and you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. I really liked what they did with this. And again, horror doesn't really get to me. Like, we just finished Silent Hill. I keep on wanting to call it Resident Evil, damn it. We just finished Silent Hill F. Please go ahead and check those videos if you're curious about that. But horror doesn't really get me like that. I'm a little too ahead of the curve, and that's fine. Don't worry about it. but I think it does a lot more than what people are gonna give it credit for, and I would like to give it credit for everything that it did character-wise. And I think this is a good film. I don't think this is a great horror film. So take that as you will. I think you're more than inclined to spend your free time doing whatever you like. But if there is one thing you do, just go hang out with Keanu Reeves, please. For the love of God, please go hang out with Keanu Reeves. He's a cool guy, very cool. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be it. Wrapping it up for today for our 3 films of the day. The tier list goes Good Fortune, all the way, baby. Chainsaw Man. I guess I should go from the other way up. And our horror film, The Black Phone 2. So very, very nice. I'm gonna start going from bottom to up for next time. Black Phone 2, Chainsaw Man, rezearc, and Good Fortune. Because it is a great movie, and we need people to go watch it a lot more, please. So if you have the time, if you have the curiosity, if you have the courage to go live the life of a homeless man in their car of Los Angeles, RVs are a thing, then please go check it out. Let us know what you think. Let me know what you think. Any good movies? Keanu Reeves is really that cute. People like Keanu Reeves that much, right? It must be interesting being Keanu Reeves. Cause like he is the coolest dude and he's got such a vibe, you know, he's got aura. He's fucking Neo from the Matrix. And like literally in every movie people are just like, I wanna fuck that guy. And then he is now married to this nice lady that is his age, you know? He's just the most normal guy with the coolest life, you know? And yeah. 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 But until then, it's been your boy, EXP 66 Stitch, wishing you buenos dias, buenos tardes. And we're gonna, the little guy is gonna play on his own zero, voice acting later today, hypothetically. But until then, hasta la próxima. Ciao. Mátame. Where's the mouse?